March the 30th was the 35th day of Russia's full-scale war against Ukraine. About 300 civilians and 50 military, according to preliminary data, died as a result of the terrorist actions of the Russian Federation in Irpin. This town near Kyiv had been partially occupied by the Russians for almost a month. The day before, Irpin was completely liberated by the Ukrainian military.
Дуже так скажу, що може комусь не сподобається, але це правда. Танками вони наших українців, вже яких були вбиті, роздавлювали і просто укатували в асфальт. Оцю історію і ці напади ми точно не простимо жодному їхньому військовому.
These are the words of the mayor of Irpin, Alexander Markushin. He also said that the locals coming out of the basements reported Russia's abuse of the civilian population, especially women. The mayor urged Irpin residents who were forced to leave their homes not to return to the city for at least another month. It is still dangerous because of the shelling of the Russians.
Нас постійно обстрілюють з районів Бучі, Ворзеля. Ірпінь страждає від обстрілів градів, від обстрілів мінометів, від важкої артилерії. Частково обстрілюють з танків нас і зі стрілецької зброї.
Currently about 3,000 civilians are staying in the city. According to preliminary data, about 50% of residential houses and the city buildings have been destroyed. The Russian occupiers fired on the Luhansk region with heavy weapons. The cities of Severodonetsk, Rubizhne, Kreminna, and Lysychansk came under enemy fire. The Russians, as always, destroyed civilian infrastructure, a kindergarten, a police office, and many residential areas. Many people were trapped under the rubbles. It has been confirmed that 2 people died, a civilian and a policeman. Among the victims there are small children. A girl, born in 2020, got shrapnel wounds in her abdomen and bone damage in both legs. Her brother, born in 2014, has fractured feet and legs. Doctors are fighting for their lives. The Russians continue to shell the humanitarian corridors. In Lysychansk, during another evacuation, the occupiers shot a bus with civilians. Fortunately, no one was injured. The Russians continue to ruthlessly destroy Chernihiv region as well. Despite Moscow's promise to reduce hostilities in this direction on the night of March the 30th, the Russian occupiers shelled Chernihiv and launched an airstrike on the nearby town of Nizhyn. Many houses were damaged. Libraries, a market and shopping malls were destroyed. 6 civilians, including 1 child, became victims of Russians in Nizhyn. 1 person died.
Станом на зараз, за нашою оперативною інформацією, ворог до кінця не відмовився від спроб захопити або принаймні оточити, в тому числі і ці міста. Йдеться про столицю і про Чернігів.
Chernihiv has been under constant fire since the first hours of the Russian invasion of Ukraine. Bridges are destroyed, the city is under the blockade, lack of food, water, lack of communications, and no possibility to evacuate people lead to another humanitarian catastrophe. Russian troops have created a huge ammunition depot close to Chernobyl nuclear power plant sarcophagus. There are hundreds of tons of ammunition. Not only Ukrainians but hundreds of millions of European Union citizens are now under the threat of radiation contamination, as ammunition can detonate at any moment. Such actions by Russian troops are carried out deliberately as the armed forces of Ukraine cannot fight on the territory of the exclusion zone. The risk of detonation of Russian ammunition is high even without hostilities, due to the occupiers' neglect of security measures, as well as the widespread use of old and substandard ammunition. The General Staff of the Armed Forces of Ukraine stated. The radiation pollution monitoring system in the Chernobyl zone is no longer working. For the last time it provided data on March the 25th. Then the indicators exceeded the norm by more than 7 times. To prevent a large-scale catastrophe, Ukraine calls on the international community to take immediate action.
Тому ми вимагаємо від Радбезу ООН негайно вжити заходів по демілітаризації зони відчуження Чорнобильської АЕС та введення туди спеціальної місії ООН для усунення ризику повторення Чорнобильської аварії в результаті дій російських окупаційних військ.
In Mariupol, the Russians deliberately fired on a Red Cross building marked with a distinctive mark. Such marks are made in places where the injured people, civilians, or humanitarian aid may be located. It was impossible to notice the big Red Cross on a white background from the air. The only ones who violated the rules of war were the troops of Hitler's Germany, who also fired on houses and vehicles marked with Red Cross, states Azov Battalion, which is now bravely defending the city from the Russian occupiers. The Russian army is a group of criminals who do not follow any rules and principles of warfare. They are brutally killing civilians and shelling civilian infrastructure. Earlier, it was reported that 11-year-old Ukrainian gymnast Katerina and her father died under the rubble of their own house in Mariupol. It is now known that a few days after Katerina's death, the enemy fired on the children's hospital where her brother was staying with his mother. The whole family died. During the war, the Russians killed 148 Ukrainian children. 232 were injured. This number is not accurate because it is impossible to count all the victims in some settlements due to constant hostilities.
Where can you find a safe place if your city is under siege? Is it an usual residential building? No. In hospitals or schools?
Третья больница, Мариуполь. Роддом.
No. In a theater, the heart of your city. Far away from any military objects. Yes, that's a good idea. Is there any other way we could warn Russian pilots about kids hiding in the theater? Yes, capital letters, in Russian. That way we will definitely be safe. But only if murdering our children isn't their goal.